Hola, hola, bienvenidos, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with someone that I love so much and that I've been on my own, like physical, internal, and literal journeys with. Everyone, please welcome Jannelle Cortes.
Hey, thank you for
Oh, yeah.
having me, Vanessa. Super excited to be chatting with you this morning.
I'm so excited to be here with you. Before we get into it, I want to give a little brief bio because, as you know, we're also multidimensional, especially this amazing mujer that's with us today. So let me get into it. Jannelle Cortes is a choreographer, travel professional, an entrepreneur that grew up in the Maryland area and now resides in New York City and Havana, Cuba. She is the founder of the GrooveFit Dance Company and GrooveTrips, LLC, both intergenerational companies that promote community, accessibility, and sustainability.
That's it.
Now, you all heard that. It was a little brief, but let me tell you, we're going to go on a journey with Jannelle because she is not brief, my people. She's not brief, okay? She is deep, she is engaging, she is wise, and she is inspiring beyond all else. So I met Jannelle in, I think it was 2005 or 2006, where I was sitting there trying to manifest like the best belly dance class and teacher because I knew I wanted to do it. And I went into was it a New York Sports Club? And they had, so I kept putting little papers in, like, bring in a belly dance teacher, bring in. And one day I walk in and there's a belly dance teacher, and there she is, and it's Jannelle, and the class is on, and the music's starting, and we're like, and she just goes into it, not giving us a moment to breathe. She's like, let's go. Shimmy, shimmy across the floor. And I fell in love with Jannelle. I fell in love with even, I felt a vibe of already sisterhood that was forming. And then, of course, my friends and I stuffed that little box of suggestions, and she wound up coming in. And after that, Jannelle, we literally followed you everywhere. We would be like 91st and 3rd on Thursday, let's go. And Canal Street, Monday, whatever. We were like Queens, Sunnyside, Astoria, running around. So, and it was so impactful in my life. And we'll get into that later. But how did you first come to dance? What was your story? Was it something that you've always done? Was there a turning point? How did you first start dancing? And how did you decide to make this like your path, your business, your work, your calling, or it called you?
It wasn't much decision. It was already written. I was one of those children that was on a table dancing, embarrassing the hell out of my mom, as a kid. I was always the life of the party at all of the family functions. They would put on el baile del perrito, and here I am, like 3, 4 years old, like, baile del perrito, pushing it back. I was just that kid. Music for me has always been therapeutic. Yoga, my yoga was ballet. So having all of this energy, running around, probably had undiagnosed ADHD when I was younger. I mean, people really didn't get diagnosed for that in the early 80s. But I was definitely one of those kids that had way more energy than my mother knew what to do with. And the first thing she thought of was, okay, she likes dance, let me put her in a dance class. And I just took to it. I absolutely loved it. Every time, I would stand in front of the bar, learning first position and second position and doing my pliés and tendus. As repetitive and as boring as some people might think that is, for me, it was what calmed me and centered me. And I had my spot in the class that I would run to. And there was this window that overlooked a parking lot, but it was something about just looking outside and looking beyond that just gave me a lot of hope. And this feeling that there was an entire world out there that I was going to discover one day. So I've always been a dancer, a dreamer, a wanderer, a very romantic person. Who's always looked towards the future. So I don't know, dance allowed me to do that, to go into this fantasy world in my mind and escape. And it's just something that I think has always been inside me. And so luckily I was able to take dance class pretty much my whole life, from about ages 4 to 16, I took ballet on a pretty much daily or every other day basis. And I did a lot of performances. I was on point. I did the whole tutus and all of that. And even though I didn't look like a typical ballet dancer, I was lucky enough to have instructors that believed in me and gave me opportunity to dance on stage. And it was, you know, I'm very grateful for that. And then from there, you know, it just kind of evolved.
I love that. I imagine I was with you, like looking out the parking lot, and how you were saying, wow, there's a whole world out there for me to explore. And so you're dancing all your life, you get to school. How do you wind up creating your business? How do you wind up becoming a Middle Eastern dance performer? And I know you also do salsa and samba, everything, flamenco. I mean, you know.
Well, again, I mean, I was lucky because ballet exposed me to not just, you know, certain types of technique, but it was the music. The music was so different from what I grew up in my house. In my house, it was merengue, it was salsa, it was, you know, Caribbean rhythms. I mean, my mother also has incredible taste in music. So it was very worldly, but there's something about classical music and ballet that's very dreamy and also very dramatic. And so there was something else that I was, you know, exposed to. So I was really lucky to have a very well-rounded kind of worldview through dance, even though I hadn't traveled anywhere, I didn't do anything, but this music was able to transport me. So fast forward, you know, I get to New York, I'm going to Fordham University because as a lot of Latinos, a lot of Caribbean people, I mean, a lot of people that are not from this country can probably relate to is that, you know, we love the arts, we love music, we love dancing and all of that, but your parents don't necessarily want you to do that as your career. So in my mind, dance was always going to be something that was my escape, my therapy, my yoga, my hobby, but it wasn't going to be my career. And so when I went to Fordham University, the idea was that I was going to be an attorney. So I studied political science. I did a couple of, you know, study abroads. Got lucky and went to South Africa, and I got to do a criminal justice program, and I even interned for Congressman Crowley. So I was really on this path. I was still taking dance classes though, so I'm glad I didn't let that go. And then when I got to graduate school, I had just had enough. I got to a point where I felt like, one, I'm in debt to my ears. You know, we're already like 75K in, and I'm not even done with my master's yet. And is this really what I want to do? And I was unsure. So thankfully, there was a Bronx Dance Theater right down the street from Fordham University. I walked in there one day and I said, hey, do you guys need help with any of your dance classes? You know, how can I be of assistance? And they were like, oh, funny thing that you walk in here because we need, and then they listed like 7 or 8 dance classes that they needed fulfilled. So for me, that was like the universe basically saying, there are other opportunities for you. If you're going to be miserable and you're going to be broke, at least try something else, you know, see what happens if you try it out in your passion. You might still be a broke dancer, but at least you won't be miserable. So for me, it was very easy to make the transition from grad school. And at that point, I had been in corporate America for about 1.5 years, and I hated it. It definitely wasn't everything that you see on TV, you know, where you're going to work 9 to 5 and, you know, be in this corporate world in your cute little suits and the shoes that you change in and out of or anything like that. All of that is a fantasy. The reality was nothing like that. And that environment for me was it just didn't work for me. So to make that transition to taking the chance and jumping over to dance, that was a no-brainer for me. And I felt like it was divine intervention because it happened like that. The moment I went to seek it, it was available to me. So I didn't think twice.
That's amazing.
I'm a dance teacher.
That's amazing, amazing. And I just want to say, like, I've been in so many different dance classes in New York City. And yes, there were teachers who had their following, but I mean, you had this huge, crazy following where, like, I was not joking earlier, like I'll be texting 91st and 3rd, meet here, meet there, do this, do that. And I know that you taught us so many different types of classes. How did you come to focus in on Middle Eastern dance class? And then, like, you've created like events and shows and trips to Egypt, like.
Well, okay. So dancing, okay, when you're a ballet dancer, I'm gonna confess, you're a bit of a dance snob because you have all of this technique and you think to yourself, this is the most complicated dance style. There is nothing that could possibly be as difficult as ballet, right? So when you're a ballet dancer, you think that you can do anything. And since I already was good at salsa, because naturally this is what we dance at home, and merengue and all of that stuff, I thought that I could do anything. And I remember the first time that I heard Tarkan's Kiss Kiss. That was probably the first MIDI song that I heard. And it was at my Lebanese friend's like random birthday party or something like that. And I was like, my God, what is this music? I absolutely love it. She was like, oh yeah, this is Tarkan, da 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 da. This is a very popular song right now, and this and that. And I think that that's what piqued my interest in, oh, let me, check out what this is all about. And I remember that Broadway Dance Center at that time was, had a belly dance class. So I said, oh, let me check this out. This is probably, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't, I think you psych yourself up for other types of classes. Like if I were going to go take a tap class or like a contemporary dance class or something like that, I would look up the teacher. I would do a little recon. I would probably watch the class from outside a couple of times, but I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, let me just go have fun in this class. What? This class kicked my ass. It was such a humbling experience in the best way. First of all, the woman who taught the class, her name was Amira Moore. She was in her 40s and about the most gorgeous thing I had ever laid my eyes on. I mean, everything about her, from the way she moved, her hair, the body, she was like pow, pow, pow. And she was in her 40s and so fabulous. And I had never seen anybody command a room and all of those people in the way that she did. I was left floored and completely enamored with every aspect of the experience. And this joy that I could not explain, because the music is so infectious. And going back to what I told you about, ballet music, and even when you have like the classical piano and all of that, I don't know if I had ever felt that type of exuberance and energy and all of that I felt after that class. And I've had like live, like Juilliard pianists play in a ballet class. And I'm telling you, I'd never experienced anything quite like this belly dance class. And so I said to myself, I just need more of this. And I just became addicted. I think that's what happens to a lot of people.
Me too.
Art form, which is why the term crazy belly dancer is a coined term, because you become a belly dance addict and then your whole life becomes that. And I remember when I told my mom, like, I'm going to be a belly dancer. And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that at all. And now that I'm a bit removed from it, I was like, my God, these people thought I was batshit crazy. And my entire life became Middle Eastern dance. But I think that the reason that I had the following, yes, once I fell in love with it, I approached it with the same seriousness that I did any other art form. It's like the respect changed immediately after that first class. And so I studied it the way that I studied ballet, the same way you're going to do 100 tendus at the beginning of a ballet class. You're going to be doing 100 chest pops, you're going to do hip drops. I mean, to the point that you're almost sore, but the music is so great and you're having so much fun and you're sweating everything off and you don't even care. You're like dancing through the pain because it's so great. That's the seriousness that I approached belly dance with. And I think that my students, that came across, that I actually cared, that you guys not only had a good time, but that I brought the best out in you guys. And I think that that came across, and I think that that's the reason why so many people enjoy the classes. Plus, where else are you going to get a workout like that?
Right. Exactly. No, exactly. I mean,
I think that when we were all dancing 5-7 days a week, we were all in the best shape of our lives.
oh yes, we were. We totally were. And then, we'd go and either do brunch after class or go to dinner. So it was like the social aspect. But for me, it was like you were just so intense and exact, and your energy. And I mean, I remember when you started doing the classes with the ballet, and I was like, I don't want it. But when I took the class, it improved,
Yeah.
You don't want those lobster hands or claw hands. You don't want like the toe. You have to, and so all these details and all this, the ballet technique that you wanted to give us, but we also have the joy. I mean, time flew, we were in shape, we had fun, we made friends. And did you decide to travel to Morocco and Egypt and Turkey and all these places because people asked you for it? Was it a combination of your desire meeting the desire of your students?
Yeah, I think it was that. I think it's the latter. I think that, well, you have to understand, my mom also created an environment in my home where we could dream, it's having all of that different type of music kind of transported you to different places, right? And so my mother was also a travel agent at my mother had a few careers, and one of them was a travel agent. And so I consider myself a second generation travel professional. And I think that, remembering some of the trips that we took, like when I got a little older and and at like my early 20s, my mother took me on what they call fam trips, which are familiarization trips for travel agents to go check out different places so they can be able to sell that to their clients. And so I already had that kind of like in the back of my mind of how it would work to go do these recon trips and things like that. But it really came up because I wanted to travel and get to know places, but also I felt that if people were going to be learning about Middle Eastern dance, that they should go to the places where this music is from, where the dances come from, so that they could better express that, that emotion can come through on stage. I mean, when you think about it, we have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 shoulders, 2 hips, right? So there is a finite combination of moves that you can actually do. What makes jazz different from ballet, different from belly dance, different from tap is the mood, There's a cha-cha-cha. It's the same thing as a chassé. It's the same thing as a Susie Q. But what changes it? What is it that makes it different for every single type of dance? It's the mood. It's the culture. Is it nuanced, or is it something that's very overt? All of those things, I think, are cultural and social. And that kind of stuff, you have to see that, experience that, in order to understand and be able to express that properly.
I love that. And I just in my mind, I went to when we were preparing for the Hispanic parade, and you're like, Susie Q, when we were doing the salsa. And it's just, and then you're like, it's a similar to, it's true. It is the mood. It's the mood. It's the culture.
If you think about it, when we do like shoulder shimmies, right? It's a lot more coquettish. It's very like, you can have it and now you can't. You're playing around. It's playful. It's very coy, right? In Latin dance, it's like, boom, come here, it's very different. And so how women express themselves and how they behave how women, I thought I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. Let me try that. Hold on. Let me put this. This is what happens when you're recording. My apologies, but you have, you know, when women express themselves and are able to be in certain cultures might look different, right? And I think that it expresses itself in dance as well. It's mirrored. And so I wanted the women that were dancing with me to be able to invoke all of that when they could be raw out there and when they had to be a little more demure. And so I love it because we all have these things. And sometimes you can, you know, you have to turn it on and turn it off, dial it up, dial it down. And it's no different when you're performing, for sure.
I love that. I love that. And that makes so much sense. And it's such, it becomes much more of an embodied experience, right? When you can embody the culture, or at least try to learn how to connect in that way. Yeah. And I remember Egypt, that was incredible, and learning from the teachers and just being in the space with all these, as you said, the crazy belly dancers.
I absolutely also loved just the physical challenge of doing like 3-4 workshops in one day, like 2 hours here and then run to this salon and go 3 hours there. It was a marathon. I absolutely love the festival experience, the frenzy of it, that everyone's there to do the same thing. Yes. I think that when I was younger, I liked the competitive aspect of it. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't care, whatever. You could be in the front row and do your thing and do a split when you finish, and it's fine. Excuse me. But I think when I was younger, I think that I had a little bit more of that competitive spirit, and I really enjoyed, like, yeah, I'm going to go in this class and kick butt.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. I love
get to enjoy it, you know, for me. And I applaud other people, you know, showing up and showing out, because that is part of dance as well, as seeing people, you know, perform even in class. And I for one, love that. I don't think that that's everyone's cup of tea. And I'm sure that there are a couple of people that might be intimidated by stuff like that in class. I personally love seeing people put their own twists on choreographies, and just watching people's artistry come to life like that. Sometimes it's the only opportunity they have to do that, you know, the only space that they have that they can do that. So I love that dance class provides that, you know, and then when they walk back out the door, they become like this other you know, their normal self. But in class, they can be on and perform and let it all out. And I love watching that expression.
I love that. And you have such beautiful space for us to do that. And that's one of the things that I think when people didn't understand why I was taking so many belly dance classes with you, my mom was like, ay, Dios mío, are you going to go become a belly dancer now? You know, and I'm like, and, you know, it was after my big breakup when I canceled the wedding. And I was just like, Mom, I'm not falling over drunk in a bar. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing this. I'm not dropping out of my job. I am dancing and feeling safe with women who care about me, and doing something that I love with music that's inspiring me. So yeah, like you said, people get a little like, oh, what is that? And also, I think that in this very patriarchal world that we still live in, whenever women are moving their bodies, people in general think that it's about men. But I was like, I got to be, like you said, you walk through the door, and outside the door, we are careful, especially in New York. I mean, to some degree, we have to be aware. Is there somebody following me? Is there some, you know, things happen, right? At least for me, I was aware of those things. I was walking home at night. But when I walked into that belly dance space with you and took off my shoes or put on my little dance shoes, and you feel the wooden floor, you see the friends, and we're all there for the same thing. And you're like, let's go, you know, and we're like just in it. And we're expressing and playful and being in our bodies in ways that sometimes is not safe in the world. Yeah. It's very healing.
I think it provided a space for all types of women, all ages, all body types to come in and be celebrated. I mean, we had people that would come in from their nights out. You remember those two girls? I still keep up with one of them. they would come in with their makeup on and like reeking of booze. And I'm like, my God, they just came from the club and they probably stayed up all night, probably went to some like after party. And now here they are in belly dance class. And we would just laugh with them and have the best time. And then we'd have people that would do their own choreographies in class. And all of it was accepted. We loved it. Not everybody, you know, moved as fast or got the choreographies as quickly and all of that, but it wasn't about that. It was about people coming in, communing, letting it all go on the dance floor, you know, and just feeling like we did something together, and nobody was thinking about any man or work stress or kids or whatever. That hour was completely ours.
Yeah.
Nobody else. And it was all just in that room. And it was this beautiful and infectious energy. And everyone walked out of there so much lighter, no matter what was going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that to me was the most important thing that was created there. And how could you not keep wanting that feeling? So no wonder, yeah, I'll see you at the next class in a couple hours. All right, we'll do it all over again. And that's how it was.
When you used to do those events, the events that were really long, and it was like samba and salsa.
Yeah. 2.5 Oh my God.
And it was just like, and I'd be like, yeah, that's where I'm going to be all day. And people were like, what? But just remember walking out like exhausted in a good way, not exhausted from a long day of work or, you know, stress, like exhilarated, cleared, joyful. So it wasn't like a regular exhaustion. It was just like, okay, my body and my mind have been really well used, you know, and now I'm going to walk out. So I'm just so grateful to you for that. I just want to honor you, like in front of everyone and whoever's listening, like those, I look back and I'm like, what an important time in my life. And I'm so glad that we're still connected, because I think you made such a difference to so many people. I don't even think that you know. So I hope that you receive that love. Now I'm going to get all teary-eyed, but
thank you.
Yeah, it was really important for me to have that, especially as someone who holds space for other people. And so I know we're going to get to your retreat soon and the things that you're doing now, but I think that for leaders and healers and space holders and nurturers, and I mean, what woman isn't in some capacity a nurturer and a space holder? In some way, she must be, whether to herself or to her children or at work. And we need those safe spaces where we can connect to our bodies and we can connect to our breath, we can connect to music, and we can be exhilarated and transported and allowed to be everything that we are, and even what we don't even know that we are.
I really appreciate your words, because I do feel like I'm in a place where I'm admitting to myself how much I miss this part of my life. I miss the community, and I miss having that impact on other people, but I also miss what it gave me. And, you know, I was just at the Savannah Music Festival teaching salsa right before Eddie Palmieri's set. And, you know, to be asked to do something like that was such an honor, because he's a legend in the Latin, and in the jazz world, in the Latin music world. This guy is 86 years old and he's still doing it. Yeah. You know, he's still, even though they literally propped up at the piano, and he's, you know, he's playing and doing his thing. But it was beautiful to see somebody like that still expressing themselves on stage and sharing their artistry. There is no time limit on this, you know, even if you're not doing it full out at 100%, like it's not about that. It's about just being able to get up there and share this gift, because that is what it is. And when you're an artist forever. And I think that there's something that happens when you deny yourself that for whatever reasons. You know, I'm still, to be very honest with you, I'm still unpacking why it is that I pulled away in the way that I did. I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, we would probably sit here for hours. This podcast would be hours long if we tried to really go down that road. But what I do know is that I miss my shimmy sisters, and I miss teaching at the capacity that I was teaching. And because this was my, like I said, my yoga, my escape, my therapy for so long, it has been very difficult finding anything that can replace that. I mean, I don't think there is anything, because when you're born with something, you have to feed it. It's you. This is a part of you. And so I'm definitely hearing and heeding to the call to go back to my nature. So
I'm gonna be making my trips to New York.
More classes very soon.
God, that's my dream come true. I'm manifesting it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I am. Because I mean, like you said, once you've tasted that, like, I'm ruined. You know what I'm saying? Like I go into other spaces and I've had other teachers and I'm just like, it's not Jannelle. Jannelle. No, it's Jannelle. And I literally am that dramatic. Like I literally come out. I tell my husband, I took a class around here and I was like, my shirt is dry.
Oh my God.
For an hour and the shirt is dry. You do not understand. In Jannelle's class, you are wringing out your shirt. You are wringing out your shirt. And so, I mean, we could talk about just dance and the impact of it forever, but I do get to, and I'm excited to hear that you are reconnecting. And, we could spend hours unpacking that. And I know that you're doing that. But there's also times, like for me, I've pulled away from teaching as much, and I've been teaching for a long, long time, but 12 years straight online. There's times where we are guided into other spaces to grow in other ways. We can come back and redefine it in our own way of what is needed at the time. And I know you know that. How did you come to, because you do so much work with charity, with Cuba, like how did that come about? And GrooveTrips, yes.
Oh, okay. So we touched briefly on the trips that I would take my students on. And what ended up happening after doing a couple trips to Egypt and Morocco and Greece and Turkey and other places was that people were like, okay, tell us about these trips now. I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. And initially the slant or the perspective was to approach travel, in this way that we supported local artists, dancers, painters, anyone that was in the arts that was on the ground enterprising. So instead of using like these big box tour companies, I would focus on finding people that were starting small businesses on the ground that had something to do with tourism, but that had this artistic slant. So I started bringing people that weren't just in the dance community. They may have been like, dance lovers or, into music or whatever. And the trips started in that way. And then it just evolved into different types of trips. And going to Cuba gave me the opportunity to meet all of these community organizations that were on the ground. That the need over there is unlike anything that we're used to here in the States. And to see that beyond like a tourist standpoint, to be there, spend all the time that I was spending there was just hard not to do something. So I got involved with different dance programs that were on the ground, different music programs, and then just naturally evolved into having this give back component to the trips that I was doing. And so that's how that began. And since 2016, all of the trips that we do to Cuba, and now I'm incorporating this give back component in other places that we go to. I make sure that either a small percentage goes to certain organizations like Paso a Paso, the autistic school in Guanabacoa. There are other organizations like that are associated with like Fábrica del Arte, that they have like children's programs. So we make sure that we're giving back to them in some way. It could be giving physical, actual donations, even giving money, and giving of our time, of our service. So
I love that so much, Jannelle. And I know that you've been now going also to Ghana, to other places. Like, what are some of the other trips that you've been guiding and leading?
Yeah, so I think that as I've gotten older, there's just been a call to come back to myself, to who I am authentically, what is, who I am, what is the essence of me. And I think a lot of it has been discovering my past. What does that mean? Who are my ancestors? Where do I come from? I'm a Dominican woman, who comes from a place where colonialism has really done a number on my people as far as their self-esteem, the way they deal with other people, the way that the hierarchy, the colorism, the elitism, the classism, all of this has to do with this really horrible institution that was imposed on this island, the horrific act of slavery, the genocide. All my island has been impacted by it. I've been impacted by it. It's something that we still haven't really acknowledged as people. And I've just felt the need as I've gotten older to delve into that and see how I can heal myself and other people around me by gaining knowledge. So doing my 23andMe and finding out that I'm part Senegalese, part Ghanaian, part Eritrean. Also, there's some North African in there. There's a bunch of other stuff. Nigerian as well. But the biggest chunk was from Ghana. And so that was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to go to the Gold Coast and learn about Ghana, learn about the history, how my people may have come about. And it's basically going home, and it's a homecoming. And I cannot tell you how beautiful and heart-wrenching and what is the word when you're having like a full circle moment, just feeling like a sense of completion. And what's interesting is that this goes back to a conversation you and I had in the Dominican Republic where you told me about the number 10. And you said something about things ending and things beginning. So I just felt, just having that full circle moment. That's kind of been the theme for this year for me.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And how amazing that now you're going home and also creating a way forward for people to also go home and reconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. We had like 17 people on that first tour. And we also had, I don't know if someone's coming in this room. Okay, good. We had 17 people on that first trip. And now what's happened since that trip to Ghana, I have 2 churches that are going to be going out there in February of 2024. It's like a group of 40 people. Wow. So I'm really excited about that. We just made sure to tailor this in a way where folks were getting the culture, they were getting the music, they were getting the cuisine, they were also enjoying Afrochella because we went towards the end of the year and they had this incredible music festival going on. So it was a nice balance of play and learn and meditation and all of that. So I try to keep the trips nice and balanced so that everybody walks away with a little something or a lot of something. And so it's caught on. I'm really excited to have another Ghana trip happening for the churches in February. But we also have a trip that's open to the public March 2024. If anybody is interested, they can definitely reach out to me.
Yay. So I'm going to put all the links in the podcast episode description. So if anybody's interested, you could reach out to Jannelle. Jannelle, you brought up ancestors and like looking to the past, and the question that comes to heart is, what are some of the ancestral patterns you had to heal or transform or break to be who you are today?
That's a loaded question. But I will say that I come from people that are extremely resilient. They're very strong. They're very knowledgeable. They're also healers, leaders in their own right. but they experienced a lot of trauma and they saw a lot of pain, and they were born in a place that had a lot of limitations. You know, my grandparents and my mom, oh, I'm sorry, let me see if this person's coming in. I think someone's coming in here. Give me one. So I'm sorry, as I was saying, you know, I come from people who they've also experienced, they come from places with a lot of limitations. My grandparents and my mom experienced a very strong, how should I say, it was a traumatic experience with a dictatorship of Trujillo. And I think that them wanting to come to the United States to give us a different types of opportunities. It was important for me to honor whatever sacrifices were made, things that I will never know and will never really fully understand. It's important for me, even when I feel like giving up or, you know, that it's too much, it's important for me to always remember the sacrifices that they made, and that they probably went through things that were unimaginable, and that there really isn't anything that I can compare what I'm going through now. I can't compare it to the atrocities that a lot of them saw. And I'm grateful that I can't. But at the same time, and it's not to diminish anything that we're going through now. We've been through our own stuff, and especially in the last couple of years. But I try to carry their strength and their resilience with me, and say that, you know, I can get through this. I'm made up of some strong stuff, and I just keep pressing forward.
Thank you for that. And you said resilience. What are some other gifts? Because I think you've alluded to them already. Some of the gifts that you're leaning in your ancestors.
I think that of taking in people, the empathy, the leadership, accepting people, and wanting to commune and get together and create something that's bigger than just the moment or just me. I think sharing that and building is something that the only way that they were able to get us to where we are right now is by doing that. So I think that there's a saying that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. So it's taking their, you know, idea of looking out of a window and seeing beyond and making that a reality.
I love that. And is there anything is there a shout out you want to do right now? And is there anything
a few shout outs?
Okay.
My friend Yvonne Velasquez that I spoke to this morning right before I spoke to you. I always want to give a shout out to my mom, who is my rock and my 100% best friend. She'll be so happy to hear that, because she always wanted to be my best friend when we were younger, and I was like, no way. But I can definitely say that she's my bestie. Give a shout out to my friend Johanna Olivas, who loves you. And I'm doing a retreat with her July 13th through the 16th. I'm going to be teaching belly dancing, and she's going to be leading. It's called the Sacred Self-Love Retreat. We are going to focus on ourselves. We're going to honor ourselves, and we're going to do some vibrational healing, some movement healing, and a lot of journaling and meditation and breath work. And it's just going to be a very beautiful experience that she is going to lead us through. And I'm very happy to be working with her on this. And that's going to be in West Virginia at Casa Om. That's July 13th through the 16th. Let's see. So shout out to Johanna. And then, shout out to my friend Vanessa Villaverde that I spoke to also this morning. And both Vanessa and Yvonne had the same message for me this morning about happiness and how it is our responsibility to be in charge of that and no one else's. So that was the message of the morning.
I love it. I love it. And it's so
true. Happiness for ourselves. Yes.
And if you could, is there anything on your heart that you want to share with creative entrepreneurs? Because that's how I see you, you know?
Yeah. There is absolutely no blueprint for this. There isn't. And I think that for a lot of us, and that's self-included, we didn't grow up talking about money, and we didn't talk about business, or maybe we didn't have parents who they were running businesses or even doing very well in their careers. They were just maybe surviving, and doing the best that they could in the moment. So a lot of the business acumen we have had to earn and learn, and that's okay. And for some of us, we're a little luckier, and preparation is absolutely, I'm never going to negate how important that is, to be prepared and be organized and be fearless, because fearlessness is definitely a part of it. You got to put yourself out there. But some of us do have more luck, and some of us are positioned in the right place at the right time. And if you are, take that and run with it, because doors open and close very quickly, but they do open again. So always remember that. And so I think that it's important to remember, like, we're not done yet. And you're going to have many ups and many downs on this journey. And you may not know that a door has closed for a reason up until maybe months and years later. And it was probably for your good. So don't fight it when it happens. You're allowed to recreate yourself over and over and over and over again. And try to keep a little bit of yourself separated from your business. So if, God forbid, something happens with your baby that you put so much time and effort and energy into, it doesn't destroy you. It just may suck at the moment, and it may be very difficult. But you've got that little bit, and you can recreate something with that, because what people want is you. You are what makes your business amazing. Okay. Because businesses come and go and become obsolete. And now with ChatGPT, we're all screwed.
Yeah. I've been trying to ignore it, but it's not going away.
Not really.
Yeah. I was trying to ignore it, but it's not going away.
You can't ignore it. It's not going anywhere. There'll be transformers walking down the street in a couple of weeks. And there's that. So your brand identity is one thing, but have your identity. Have your own identity, have your own life, be able to separate those things, because you are way more than your business, no matter how amazing you think it is. And yeah, that's it. That's the message.
I love it, Jannelle. Thank you so much for being with us. Where can people find you?
Everywhere. Let's see, where am I? I am traveling a lot. I have a masterminds coming up May 3rd through May 9th in Mexico. I do have a couple of spaces open for that. And that is open for entrepreneurs that are in various phases of their business journey. So if you just want to come and work on your pitch deck, or work on your pitch, or just throw around some ideas, or if you're already doing your rounds of funding, and you want to get to the next level, or you just need to take a break, it's basically open for any woman entrepreneur who wants to enjoy San Miguel de Allende for a few days. So that's happening May 3rd through the 9th. In June, I'm in Cuba and in the Dominican Republic. What month are we now? It's April. I'm here for a while.
Where can we find you online if people want to reach out to you?
Oh, online. Yeah, you can just go to GrooveTrips. That's groove-trips.com. And you can always info at groove-trips.com if you have any questions about any upcoming trips. And I will definitely be dropping class schedule once that's ready to go.
Yay, manifesting it. Thank you, Jannelle. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you've received these beautiful messages. Jannelle has definitely dropped so much wisdom, so much experience, inviting us to reconnect with our artists, to trust ourselves in our flow, and to be fearless and lean into our ancestors' wisdom and resilience. Gracias. Bye, Jannelle.
Oh, thank you.